Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive. Very honored to have this guy back on the show, Peter King, one of the best in the business for, I don't know, should we say 50 years, Peter?
I think it was 40, and then I retired in the spring, had some time on my hands, and so that leads me to have a reunion with some old friends from Enfield and to do this little project, but and to do a lot of things that you don't get a chance to do when you're working 60 hours a week. So it's been a good 6 or 8 months so far.
All right. Well, I wanted to get into this, though. I mean, I married a former school teacher. A lot of, during COVID, a lot of schools cut sports programs, so this is really close to my heart. The public schools in Enfield, they had massive budget cuts, got rid of a lot of teachers, but, more importantly, 17 sports were lost between the grades of 6 and 9. Tell us how we can possibly get enough money to get some of these sports back.
Well, Rob, we were in contact. I got called into this by 3 longtime Enfield residents, and one, my former baseball coach, Bob Brummage, and 2 former students, basketball players there, Paul Da Silva and Russ Tyler, and they called and they said, would you help us raise enough money so that we can get these sports back? And so we got a GoFundMe page, and I hit up a few people who for years I had dealt with in the NFL, and we've done pretty well so far. We're at about 110,000, and our goal right now is 130, and we really want to go past that, and I'll tell you why. Because the superintendent of schools in Enfield basically told us, listen, if you raise $100,000, we will put the 17 sports with, that basically give 279 students in the Enfield public schools access to a sports team after school. We'll put those sports back for the 25-26 academic year. And then when I saw that we might go over that goal, which we have done now, we asked if they could put this toward future years so that these sports don't come back for a cameo appearance, so that they come back permanently. And so that's what we're doing now. So we hope to go beyond, 130, 150, and that's why we're having a couple of events. We have a GoFundMe page, and we also have what's called a Night with Peter King on November 7th, where I'm going to go back to my old high school and tell some stories about what it was like for 40 years to cover the NFL for Sports Illustrated and for NBC. And, I'm grateful for people to come, and I'm also grateful to you, Rob, for putting the information on your show page so that if people want to buy tickets, it's very easy to do so. They're only $20 each, and they'll go to a great cause.
A Night with Peter King, that's November 7th. It's a Thursday night, 7 o'clock, Enfield High School. Just tell us, just your career obviously has revolved around sports, and you've seen so many different walks of life in so many different sports. Just the meaning of sports and why it is so important to have these extracurricular activities in high school, in middle school, beyond going pro, beyond going to college with a scholarship. From Peter King, what does it mean for high school sports, youth sports, to be in effect at all times?
Well, I mean, to me, I think there's 3 points about this. Number one, I have a lot of great memories growing up in Enfield. I lived there from birth till I left for college in Ohio in 1975. So everything about growing up in Enfield helped me get to where I am today. And my memories, I bet, are 80 to 90% what happened on athletic fields and on the basketball court. And I can vividly recall my senior year in high school in 1975. probably one of the best pitchers in the state, played for East Hartford, and we went and played them, and I got 2 triples. We won the game 5-3. It was a huge win for us. I mean, how in the world can I remember something that is 50 years, that's a half century old? But I remember it vividly. I remember going to the field that day. I remember everything about it. So that tells you something about the importance of sports, in schools. And I think it's more than just, oh my God, I had a great day, or I scored a goal, or I scored X number of points in a basketball game. I mean, it's more than that. It's the fact that you're on a team. My first day of fall soccer practice in my senior year in 1974, I'll never forget. We have a big hill behind the high school, and our coach said, "You guys better be ready to run 10 of those hills consecutively." And I'll never forget that day. We had 2 or 3 guys who were puking, after running, and I remember I had really worked hard to make sure that I would be ready for that. But that is the kind of stuff that's so important. You say, hey, I need to work hard to be prepared to do this. And I'll just say the final thing, that the reason why I think it is so important today. And look, I have incredible empathy for the 127 teachers and staff members in the Enfield Public Schools who were laid off this past, after last school year. And I have incredible empathy for those who have to do more with less. And I wish that there was some way that all of those people could be helped. But in my opinion, what happens if you try to do a big project like this, you try to do something that you think people are going to can identify with, can get excited about. And I think if you tell people that, hey, listen, 17 sports teams, 279 students are without that. And today, in today's world, what are you going to do if you don't have a practice to go to after school? I'll tell you what you're going to do. You're going to stick your head in your phone, and you're just going to do nothing. I mean, I'm not saying every kid does that, but that'll be the temptation for a lot of kids. We need to bring these sports back, and we need to bring them back permanently.
Well said. We're talking to Peter King. Tickets are on sale right now. You can go to our website to get them. They're $20 a piece to benefit restoring Enfield sports programs. And like I said, I married a former school teacher that taught in the Naugatuck school system, where there's a lot of tough kids. And now I'm coaching 15, 16U baseball, volunteering basically, so that these kids and some of my brightest kids came out of tough schools and situations. And one of my favorite kids, we've brought him up here on the show. His name's Dennis Flores, came out of Manchester, 3.8 GPA. He's at a historically black college now at Lincoln University on an academic scholarship. That kid would have got into so much trouble. I'm not going to get into his background, but it was tough. And had he not had sports to be an outlet, to go and become part of a family, and honestly, as a coach, and I get chills thinking about it right now, I get more out of them than I give to them, because I see them grow. I've had some of them since they were 12, 13. Now they're going on 16. Some of them starting to drive, and they come to me sometimes with their problems, and it's tough, man. It was with social media, Peter, with all the pressure that these kids are under today. My nephew committed suicide a couple years ago. There's so much more on these kids than, when you and I were growing up in the 70s. There was some drugs and there was some trouble we could get into, but nothing like today. So this is why it really touches me that you're doing this, and hopefully we can help each other in the future with anything we can do for you, because it means so much. These kids need an outlet. It's even with the Boys and the Girls Clubs. My father-in-law, who passed away a few years ago, was huge with the Waterbury Boys and Girls Club. And when I got involved in it, and now through the Travelers, we raise money for these different, charities and stuff like that, I realized that there's 200 kids have nothing to do after school in Waterbury. And if they didn't go to the Boys and Girls Clubs, they would be getting in trouble. And God knows what they would be getting into if they didn't have somewhere to go. And you know what was funny? And this is kind of 6 degrees of sports. LeBron James, when he did his decision, that whole thing with Jim Gray, $2 million went into going back to the Boys and Girls Clubs. And and one of the specific clubs was the computer stuff and all the software and all the stuff that went into the Boys and Girls Clubs in Waterbury. So that's why, so when people say, well, LeBron's this, LeBron, you know what LeBron did? He did something for a selfless thing for other people. And that's what I look like, look at what you're doing right here. It's selfless. You and I have been blessed to do what we've done for so many years, and now we're just trying to kind of pay it forward. And 279 will stick with me because that's 279 souls that need some direction and some family.
I'll say two things. Number one, to hear you talk like that is such a cool thing because I have to think. I mean, look, you played at the highest level of baseball. You faced the greatest hitters in your era in baseball. And to hear you talk about this with such passion, I can't believe that you thought baseball is more important. Your career in baseball is more important than what you're doing now because you know that it isn't. And I kind of feel the exact same way.
Yeah.
Look, I have not in any way put the strong arm on a soul. But about 3 or 4 weeks ago, someone who I covered for a long time in the NFL, somebody who I knew well, said to me, hey, listen, I really admire what you do, what you're doing for your old school system. I'm going to send you a check. Give me your address. And so, I don't know, a few days later, I open up the mail, and there's a check for $25,000. And so, obviously, this person who I'm talking about doesn't necessarily have to worry all that much about where, spending $25,000. But he wrote me this note with this check that said, and look, he's going to remain anonymous forever, but he wrote me this note that said, essentially, listen, everything I remember about my schooling, before I went to college, and I mean everything, revolved around sports. Yep. I hate when I hear sports getting cut back because you're going to school. You're going to have to do well in school, to get ahead. But you also need an outlet from 3 to 6 o'clock in the afternoon and 1 or 2 nights a week. You need something good to do with your life, something rewarding to do with your life, whether you win, lose, or draw. And that, to me, I'll tell you one other thing. Field Yates, who does the fantasy football for ESPN, he's a buddy of mine, and I told him about this. And so I looked a couple days later, and he donated on the GoFundMe page $279. $1 for each kid who was getting deprived of sports. And I sent him a note, and I just said, that is just so incredibly awesome. Could have given $25, and I would have said, hey, thanks, that's great and all that. But he gave a symbolic amount of money that means so much. And that's come from a lot of people who I've known in the business for a long, long time have donated. Here's a crazy one for you. So Steve Young, who I covered, is a Greenwich boy, and obviously has a Hall of Fame career with the Niners, and I covered him a lot. Wrote a couple of cover stories on him for Sports Illustrated, and one day I'm looking at the GoFundMe page, and there is a $5,000 donation from Steve Young. My jaw dropped, and, basically he said, hey, listen, this is a great cause. I love it. We're Connecticut guys, and, we got to make this work. So, I don't know. Rob, it's so interesting. Yeah. My faith in human nature has really been restored, and I am a very optimistic person by nature. But so many things have happened in the last couple of months, and working with Paul Da Silva and Bob Brummage and Russ Tyler, who are working their rear ends off to make sure that we can raise this money, has just been really inspiring.
Go Google, go fan, A Night with Peter King. That's how we found the website to get tickets. They're only $20. Thursday, November 7th. It's at 7 o'clock. It feels like you're working just as hard as you were last NFL season. I know you did walk away February of 2024 this year. Is there something that you miss? I mean, now that we're a few weeks into the NFL season, do you feel like normal, or do you feel like, man, I missed a bunch of trades this morning and you weren't up at 4 a.m. checking your phone?
No, I don't care. I mean, it's not that I don't care.
Right.
It's not that I don't care. I'm still into the games. I watch them on Sunday, but like my wife and I right now are on a trip. We're driving across the United States. We're in Jackson, Wyoming. We're going to go on a tour of the Grand Tetons in about a half hour.
Oh my God, that's awesome!
You know, we've never done anything like this. I mean, we were at Mount Rushmore this week.
Awesome.
I mean, how
That's
cool
fantastic.
is that?
Yep.
You don't get to do that when you're working the way I was working, and so hey, listen, I had a fantastic run. I covered the league for 40 years. Loved every minute of it. And when I retired, I still loved it. I was not negative. I didn't say, oh, man, this sucks, that sucks. It doesn't suck. It's great. I love football, and I love covering it. I loved every day of my existence covering the NFL. But, you know, there comes a time in life where you basically say, you know, is that all there is? And maybe I should at least try something else. I don't even know what that is right now, but I'm enjoying trying getting in a car and driving across Wyoming for the first time in my life. So, yeah, life is pretty good.
Hey, you are the best, Peter. God bless you for what you're doing. And if you need any more help, let me know. And hopefully we can make it out there to listen to your stories on November 7th at Enfield High School.
Hey, listen, I really, really appreciate you guys giving me this opportunity. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you, and enjoy your trip. Peter King, everybody. When we come back, Mike Crispino. We'll talk about some UConn basketball, some UConn football. Ooh, I'm getting kind of nervous. Got Wake Forest coming up this weekend.
Don't be, Rob. Confidence is what you need.
Let's hear what Mike Crispino has to say about the men's basketball last night against Rhode Island next on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell and your afternoon drive here on Fox Sports Radio.